Hi everyone, and welcome to Back to the Basics. Today we're going to finish the last section of our project, and that is borders and corners, so let's get started. Alrighty, so in Creative Studio 6.0, they've redone borders and corners for the better, and I'm going to show you how we're going to work with that today. First thing that I've done is I've selected my two patterns that I'm going to work with today. Here's my corner pattern and here's my border pattern. They're both by Urban Elements. And what I'm going to do is if you left click on your corner pattern first, so it's going to be highlighted this turquoise color, you're going to hold Control on your keyboard and you're going to click the border sashing part. So I'm going to click that and they'll both be selected. Once I have those done, and you want to do it in that order, and there's a reason, I'm going to show you when we get done to the end here. So I've selected those two. I'm going to come here to my border corner icon. I'm going to left click on that. Once I left click, all the icons across the top are going to be gray, and that's stating that you're in a mode. And so at the bottom right hand corner here, it's going to tell me to click upper left outer corner. So I'm going to take my machine head, I'm going to come over here to the upper left corner, I'm going to hit OK. It's going to tell me to go to my upper right outer corner. Take my machine over here to the upper right, hit OK. It's going to say go to the lower right outer corner. Go right here and hit OK. It's going to say click lower left outer corner. So bring my machine over here and hit OK. So when I click that left point, that lower left point, it's going to lock in my outer corner boundaries, and then at the bottom right it's going to give me another set of instructions. That bottom right instructions are going to be click upper left inner corner. So I'll take my machine head to the inner upper left corner, I'm going to hit OK. It's going to now say hit upper right inner corner. So go over here, hit OK. It's going to say lower right inner corner. Bring my machine down here, and I'll hit OK. And it's going to tell me to go to the lower left inner corner, and hit OK. Now before I do that, as you've noticed, I'm only going to the bottom of what I can accomplish at this time. When it says lower left or lower right corners, it doesn't want you to roll the quilt and go all the way down. It wants you to go to what you can accomplish at this time, so right here. So when I click this lower left corner, it's going to populate in my border corner for me. And it's just going to do the corners on the sides here, and then whatever it can fit in between. So right now I only have 2 repeats in between, or actually I have 3, woohoo, in between, and then I've got my corner. So over here, just like edge to edge, it's going to ask for our quilt length. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to type in my quilt length. So for instance, this quilt length is 45, and I'm going to hit enter. So when I hit enter, it's going to populate in how many repeats it thinks it needs. So right now it's just 1 on each side, which is fine with me. And then what I can do now is you have all these other options. The first one is your margin. And so that 1/4 of an inch is how far it is from this inner part right here. And that's just, with each pattern it's a little different. So, but you can always change that, and it'll change throughout the entire portion. So if I do 0.15, it'll just expand it out a little bit more to get it closer to the sides. I like a 1/4 of an inch just personally, so that's a standard on the machine. When you look at the connect, it's a true or a false connect. Normally 9 times out of 10 it'll be a true connect, but see when I hit false, it separates them because it's not really connecting them all the way. So normally you'll just want to leave that on true. When it comes to corner type, each border and corner is different. It is, how do I say it? It's depending on the way the pattern was designed by the designer. So like for instance, this orientation is the upper left. Some might be upper right, lower left. When you finish that left click down here at the bottom left inner corner, and it doesn't look 100% right, that's when you'll go in and you'll want to change the orientation or the type, and it'll get to this look that you want it to, the right look actually. So what I'll do is I can also select all my patterns. So right up here at the top, click select all. And you can shift your patterns around just a little bit so they fit the way that you want them to. So I like to leave a little bit of distance from my outer corner for the binding so the binding doesn't cover the actual pattern itself. One note is you never want to pull down, so I'm not going to do it, but you never want to pull down your patterns, because when you type in your quilt length, Creative Studio measures these repeats on the side so they'll be, you know, the same distance all the way down, so when you get to the end everything's going to match up. So if you move this, it does not take that into account as you keep moving down. So I always leave my bottom part alone, but you can stretch your sides and move your top as much as you want. So I'm just going to make my final adjustments. Once I'm done with my adjustments, I can X out of my border corner settings. And if it looks good the way I want it to for the first part, I'm going to go ahead and hit quilt. Pull up my bobbin thread. Gonna take its secure stitches and it's off. So we are about to near our end here of this little section that we've done for our border and corner. It's almost done. It's looking really good. I really like this pattern. It's really cute. Works really well on the border. Almost done, coming around our final curve here. Alrighty, so we have finished out our first section of our border corner, and I'm going to go ahead and clip my threads. Here, pull up my bobbin, take it, and go ahead and clip my threads. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and roll up my quilt. I'm going to show you how we are going to advance and continue. So I'm going to hit OK just to get rid of that. Pop off my side clamps here. On the side. Okay. I'm gonna go ahead and roll up my quilt. I thought I'd show y'all real quick one of my new favorite techs out there is there's these red snapper edge clamps, and they have this little center part in here. And I don't know about you, but when I use my orange clamps that come with my machine, they are great. But if I have two separate on each side, it kind of gives it an uneven pull with these clamps. But with these red snapper edge clamps, we sell them in store and online. And they come in 3 different sizes. This is the biggest one. This is the 19-inch. And it has this little slit right here in between. You can see it kind of rocking it. It has this little slit. If I slide it into my backing fabric here, and I like to start in the middle, so I'll do a press in the middle, and then I go up, go down, and then it's just one even nice pull across. So I can use my orange clamp it to that bungee, and I've got one nice even pull. So I really like those. So now that I've rolled up my quilt, what I'm going to do is I'm going to select all my patterns. So if I come over here to my computer, the top here, there's a square box with 3 green arrows that circle. I make a circle. If I left click on that, it's going to select all of my patterns. So what I'm going to do is right click, and it's going to give me an option for relocate. So I'm going to relocate, and I'm going to do Shift All to 2 points. When I click on that, it's going to say on my computer screen, click first known point on CAD. So I'm going to zoom in to my first point, and I like to do the point on the left over here, and then I'm going to do my point on my right. So I'm going to zoom into my point over here, click on that. I'm going to move over to this point right here. I'm going to left click on that. When I've clicked on that second point, it's going to now say click yes when machine head is at first known point on quilt. So I'm going to take my machine and I'm come here to my first point. And sometimes you can even drop your needle down just to double check that you're right on top of that point. That's what I like to do. So I'm right there. So I can hit yes. When I do that, it's going to say click yes when machine head is at second known point. So take my machine over here to the second point that I clicked, which is right here. Drop my needle down just to be, just to be sure. And I'll hit yes when it's on that point. So now we can see that our patterns have shifted up. What I'm going to do now is get rid of these boundaries because I no longer need them. And when a boundary is red, that means it's active. So all I have to do is hit delete on my keyboard. It's going to go away. And I'll click on this other one, get rid of that one, delete and go away. What I'm going to do now is create a boundary around what I have to work with so I can easily manipulate the pattern the way I want to without kind of having to guess where it's going to be. So what I'm going to do is left click on create a boundary, which is my first icon over here. It's going to say click boundary point 1. And I don't have to do these in any particular order. It's just so I can get the idea of where it's going to be at. So I'm just going to make a point around where my boundary's at. And I can tell that my piecing's a little off, so I'm going to make multiple points down the side here. Come over here to this other side and go up and stop. So I have my first section over here on this side, so I'm going to do the same thing on the right side. Instead of being at my computer, I'm just going to hit mode and then select, because that'll let me select my boundary. So I'm just going to make that same boundary again. And like I said, there's no particular order that you have to make these boundaries in. It's not going to affect the orientation of your pattern. Make some points along the side. Get up here, I'm going to hit stop. So now that we've made our boundary, the first thing that I'm going to do is click on this one repeat that I have on the side. So I'm going to left click on my first repeat over here. And it's over here in this section, it's going to give me the pattern width and the pattern height. So I'm going to take note of those numbers. Now the thing is, I'm going to sound crazy, but you want to write them down opposite of what they are. So if the pattern width says 5.08 right here, you actually want to write down the width as 7.56. So the width is 7.56, and the height, that's 5.08. I know I'm sounding crazy, but trust me, when I get to these sides, you'll understand what I mean. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to write those, kind of cross of what they are. So the height as the 5.08, and the width as the 7.56. That's how I'm going to write them down and take note. So I'm going to select on my pattern over here in my preview pattern section. I'm going to hit that sashing pattern, left click to fill that up. I'm going to then hit repeat patterns, which is this 9 patch right over here. So I'm going to left click that. And over here in the section, it's going to say individual pattern details. So on the width, I'm going to write down what I had, which is 7.56. Hit enter. And on the height, I'm going to type in what I have, which is 5.08, and hit enter. I'll scroll down my little toolbar here, and it's going to give me an option for repeats and rows. And I'm just going to kind of guess how many I can fit in there. So I'm going to guess that I can fit about 3. So I'm going to take 3 of these. 1, 2, 3. And then when I hit OK, it's going to populate in those 3 repeats that I've selected. So I'm going to X out of my repeat pattern setup. Highlight these 3 patterns. Bring them down, and I'm going to now rotate them. So I'm going to right click and rotate them. And pull them right in for me here. So they're right here for me. And what I'm going to do is to make sure that my ends are snapped, I'm going to hit F11 on my keyboard so I can have my endpoint squares. I'm going to make sure that my E is selected. So my E is my end snap, so I'm going to select that. Take my endpoint square and just shift that down until I hear it snap in. Once that's done, I'm going to right click on my selected 3 repeats here, and I'm going to hit rubber stamp. I hit rubber stamp. It's going to give me an option to cycle through these so I can get them back. Just move them out of the way. I'm going to then rotate these so they can fit going down the side. So I'm going to right click on these, rotate, rotate, move that right in to this side over here. Hit F11 on my keyboard so I can get my endpoint squares and snap those in. Once they're both snapped in, you can check your boundaries that you've made to see, if it looks that's going to fit in the way that you want it to fit. And mine look good. So now what I'm going to do is hit quilt. Pull up my bobbin thread. Hit OK. Coming in here to finish on my point right here. Ding. I'll take that and pull up my thread. And I was thinking as it was quilting that you can actually have it start from the point that you want to connect it to and have it come down. And the way you would do that is you would just reverse your start and end. So we're going to do that on my other side here. So it's going to tell me to hit my bobbin and hit OK. So click that, and it's going to actually go ahead and just move over here because that's the way I had it set, but I'm going to go ahead and stop it to show you how to do your start and ends. I'll just stop this real quick. Okay. So what you would do is click on the selected section that you want to work with. Once you've clicked on that section, you'll right click on the pattern, and there's an option for reverse start and end. So you can see that my start and end is at the bottom, or my start's at the bottom, my end is at the top. But I want to reverse those so I can have my start where these two are connected. So what I would do is just right click, hit reverse start and end, and now you can see that you're starting, where's that, there you go, the start word is right there at the top, and it's going to start where you wanted them to connect. So I can hit quilt, pull up my bobbin threads, and hit OK. So we're nearing the end of our set that we brought up. I'll do its tie-off stitches. Ding. Move my machine. Take a single stitch so I can pull up my bobbin thread. Got that. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to roll up my quilt, make sure my sides are basted down, put on my clamps. Alrighty, so now that I've rolled up, what I'm going to do is we're going to do the relocate that we did earlier. So I'm going to go to my computer, I'm going to hit select all patterns. I will then right click, come down here to relocate. I'm going to do shift all to 2 points. It's going to say click first known point on CAD. So I'm going to click my first point. It's going to then say click second known point. So I'll click my second point over here on the side. It'll say click yes when machine head is at first known point on quilt. So I've already rolled up my quilt. I'll hit yes. It's going to say click yes at second known point. So I'll take my machine over here to the right hand side. I'll select yes. It's going to shift up my patterns for me. So what I'll do is we're going to again make another boundary around our bottom portion here. And you can see that mine's really wavy. My piecing's not that great, but I'm sure many of y'all have seen that before too. So what I'm going to do is I'll just make multiple points again around the sides here so I can just make sure I can see really what I'm working with. So I'll hit mode and I'll hit select to start creating a boundary. And for this one, I'm going to start over here, and I'll come down. So click, 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 all the way down the sides here. Come across the bottom. Come up across this left-hand side here. I'll come over here to this right-hand side, and I'll start my way down. And then I'm going to make my way up this side right here, and that'll finish us off. So when I get to my final point up here, I'll hit stop. And you can see, wow, yeah, don't leave me in charge of piecing. But you can see that you're going to make your way around. So it's just going to give you a little visual to work with right here. So this is kind of a guessing game for me. What I'm going to do is I think that about 2 repeats right here along with my corner, my middle sashing, and then 2 on this side will fit. So what I'll do is I'm going to hit my, let's see, this is one of the repeats on the side here, then I have the second one, and then I've got my center point. So I'm going to hit my first one here on the side, hold control, hit this next one, my sashing, my corner pieces, and the 2 on the side here. And like I said, this is just a guessing game. I'm totally just trying to figure out which one will work good for me. So I'm going to right click, come over here to rubber stamp, bring this out of the way. I'm going to rotate it around, and I can see that I only really probably needed 1 repeat. So I'm just going to redo what I just did. So I'll just Control Z out of what I just did until I get back. So I probably just need this 1 in my corner piece. So I'll hit my 1, Control 1. So 1 repeat, getting my center, my top sashing points, and then my other repeat on the side here. I'll then right click again, come over here to rubber stamp, nudge this out of the way. I'm going to right click, and then I'll rotate and rotate. So I'll then get to my purple handlebars, put those endpoints where I want them. I can see that I probably just need to do a little bit of stretching just to pull it down and fit it just right. And I can see that my start and ends are not 100% connected. So what I'll do is I'll zoom into this start point. If you hit nodes, it'll give you all your nodes that you're working with. And you can actually end snap with just 1 node. And what I mean by that is if you hit your endpoint, so turn on your E, which is over here on the bottom left, and you take the node, the pink node that you want to work with, you hold that and click it, it will snap to whatever you want to endpoint it with. So you can snap with 1 node instead of moving the entire pattern. So I'll zoom out and check my other side. I'm going to take this one and just snap it in. And all I did there was just I clicked on it, left clicked, held, and just moved it over, making sure my E was on my end snap. So I can zoom out, check my sides, and everything looks pretty decent. You can see, get out of this, you can see sometimes it's going to go over my border, my outer side here just a little bit, and I'm okay with that. You can manipulate it using nodes or any of your handlebars if you'd like, but I know that my piecing was a little off, so that is to be expected. So what I'm going to do now is it's going to start here, end here, and I'm just going to hit quilt. Over here, pull up my bobbin thread, hit OK. So it's making its way around to its final repeat right here. We'll get all the way to here. It's just going to finish out these last few stitches for us. my bobbin thread. Cut that out. And we have finished our border corner. Isn't it just amazing how easy it is to do a border corner on our Statler Stitcher? Just remember, don't be frustrated if you can't get it the first time. It takes a little bit to understand how to get the right aspects of border corner working. Now, what I suggest you do is if you get some charity quilts in, or maybe just some muslin, throw it on your machine and really get working with border corners and understanding the different patterns. You know, we were talking about the upper left and the orientation, just really getting familiar with that section. Well, that does it for this project in the Back to the Basics series. Keep calm and Statler on.